The lessons I've learned that really have fueled my business are to work hard, to take care of the people, and do a good job. So I think in that order, maybe the taking care of people first, but I think the relationships are more important than the actual job itself, which sounds strange, but I get hired and rehired for a lot of jobs because they can trust me. I'm going to work hard. I'm going to be there, and they don't have to worry about me. And most of them end up being friends as opposed to the technical aspects of my job.
Welcome, gorgeous entrepreneurs, to another episode of Business Straight Up, the business podcast for photographers and creative entrepreneurs to get those business skills in so you can be successful. Before I open up and upset people right off the bat, let's do a review of the week, shall we? Today's review is from Amanda, and she wrote, I've read so many business books that explain so many ways of finding your ideal clients, but I was never inspired by them. This actually made me think, and I'm so inspired to take a different approach to really connecting with people. I love the focus of this episode and look forward to more bite-sized bits of information that I can work on progressively without getting overwhelmed. Thank you so much for your kind words, Amanda. And for any new listeners, Amanda is referring to episode 001, which I intentionally created as the first episode because I knew that I would reference it often. The ideal client profile is so important to your business. So if you have not heard that episode, head on back, listen to that, and definitely think about that ideal client profile. So, are you wondering why I said I might upset people today? Real talk, today's episode is going to ruffle some feathers and might piss some people off. You'll notice that in the welcome, I did not say entrepreneurs today because today's episode is specifically going to speak to moms. You know who you are, the moms listening to this in one earbud with another episode of Sesame Street playing in the background. In yoga pants, cooking eggs exactly the way your toddler likes them, with toast that isn't too toasty, but isn't soggy either. Trying so hard to make these little humans happy while making yourself happy and running a business too. Trying to hold on to a little bit of your individuality while also raising and loving on these amazing humans. It's a huge responsibility. I have 2 small humans. I get it. I am there with you. And because of my second little blessing, I am actually on 2 ends of the spectrum. I have a teenager and a 3-nager. The demands of a teen's schedule, while also dealing with Barbie's hairstyling requirements to go to the ball. I know, y'all are jealous right now. I can feel it. You didn't know I was a hairstylist too, but I am, and I can do Barbie's hair very, very well. When I first met Laura, she was very short and to the point, and I'm definitely more of an emotional, touchy-feely person, so she seemed kind of cold to me. But nothing could be further from the truth. As I got to know her, I understood that not only is she an amazing business owner, but a stellar mother, and appears to achieve the unicorn of motherhood, the work-life balance that everyone talks about. But here's a secret that we're going to talk about today. There is no balance. It comes down to letting go of the shoulds in your life and really being present in all areas. Does that sound difficult? It definitely can be. My guest today is Laura Kinser of Kinser Studios, and I really have so many things that I can ask her as a guest because she is seriously just an amazing businesswoman. But this is one thing that she really has down for all my moms out there, and I wanted to talk about this on the show. How to love what you do and not feel guilty. That following your dreams and doing your own thing does not make you a bad parent. How to really be present with your family and separate your attention and time so you can let go of that mom guilt. Oh my gosh. I know I need this in my life. I'm sure some of you probably need it as well. So let's jump in. I'm so excited to speak with Laura Kinser today. Hey there, awesome people. I am Brooke Summer, and you are listening to Business Straight Up, the podcast for creative entrepreneurs to learn, connect, grow, and build the business and life that they dream of. Welcome, let's get going and dive right in. Welcome, amazing listeners, entrepreneurs. I am so excited today. We have an amazing guest, and we are going to talk about something that, quite frankly, might piss some people off, but it's all good because I'm good at that. So I am so excited to bring you today's episode. And like all episodes, the show notes for this show and all of the episodes are accessible at www.businessstraightup.com/podcast. And if you love this episode, can you do me a favor and head over to iTunes and leave a review? I know it takes a couple minutes, but I promise it just makes my day, and it helps me bring you the things that you need, the content that you need, the classes that you need, the information that will help you most. So press pause, head on over to iTunes, leave a review, and then come back because welcome, Laura Kinser of Kinser Studios. I am so excited to have you here today. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, I'm so excited to be on with you.
So for anyone that does not know Laura, she lived in Colorado previously, but has moved away, which I'm still sad about.
Me too.
Every night. But she is kicking ass in Utah now. And Laura, tell me a little bit about your journey. What brought you to where you're at today? And then I'll kind of slide in with what we're going to talk about. But I want to hear more about you first.
Okay. Well, I started in photography when I was really young. I really liked doing it, and I knew that I wanted to photograph people. But I grew up and got a real job, quote unquote, and did restaurant management for quite a while. And one day I decided the schedule sucks and I don't want to do it. And so I went to photography school in Massachusetts. And then I had been living in Vegas. So I moved back to Vegas after that. And I found a really good niche doing conventions. I mean, it's a convention town. And along with that, headshots. I like working with business people and all that entails, either on the convention side or the headshot side. I met my husband. He is wonderful. And then we moved to Denver, which is where he grew up. Well, he grew up in Western Colorado, but we moved to Denver as it was a little bit bigger city.
Yes.
We lived there for 6 years, and I built a business and was doing great and loving it. And then his brother, who was our family, and his family, his wife and 2 sons, moved away. And so we were there alone. So we decided that family was the most important thing. And if I wanted to do my business the way I was doing it, I had to be closer to family. So we decided last year to move to Salt Lake. So here we are. And we are trucking along, just doing life.
That's amazing. What do you mean by if I wanted to do business the way I was doing it? Because I have a feeling that's going to lead us right into our topic today.
I think it is. So I work hard. I love to work hard. I was taught at a very young age to work hard, and it's part of me. I respect stay-at-home moms so much, but it was never in the cards for me. And not on a money standpoint, but more for a fulfillment standpoint. Mm-hmm. And I just like to work. So I had to make a job that would make time for family and for work. So moving here made that possible because my parents live here, as well as a couple of my brothers and my extended family. I have aunts and uncles and all sorts of family here that just, love my kid and that kind of thing. So it really made sense, even though it was so hard to leave Denver because it's a city that we loved living in.
Yes, it is beautiful here, and I miss you so much.
Well, on the flip side of that, I do get to come visit some. So
that's true.
I still have work there, and so I have to take little trips either to Colorado or I have quite a few clients that fly me to different cities for their yearly convention, which, it takes time and whatever, but it keeps my clients happy and it keeps me happy.
That's amazing. And when you and I were talking about this episode, We had so many ideas, man. We had like a list. We might have to do another one later.
Oh.
But for this one,
2.
right? Episode,
Yeah.
We'll just keep going down the list. But for this episode, I wanted to talk about something that's been weighing on me and on other moms for a while, because you have a little boy. And we've talked about this before, mom guilt.
Yeah.
And you are so straightforward. And every time I talk with you, I just feel so powerful. And I feel like I can shed that guilt for a little bit. And like, hell yeah. You are a successful business owner, which takes a lot of time. Do you ever feel guilty for putting that effort and work into your business instead of being home or instead of spending more time with your family?
In all honesty, no, I don't. I know, kill me. I know, I should. So here's the thing. I was speaking with a keynote speaker not too long ago, and she is an amazing speaker, and she has to travel. And we were talking about this subject, and she said the same thing to me. When I feel guilt, it's really that I feel like I should have guilt, not that I actually do. And she has a family and wants to be with them and loves them and that kind of thing. But it doesn't mean that we love our family any less.
Absolutely. I feel like our culture feeds this idea of mom guilt. Like, we've all heard of mom shaming, right? Because when you become a mother, everyone has an opinion about everything you do, even though it's none of their damn business. But we also feed this idea of mom guilt. Yeah. It's no one else's business. And the fact is that even as mothers, we're still human beings.
Oh, for sure. And I make it a huge point that, you know, when I'm home, that I'm present and I am home and I turn the computer off and I am with my family and I'm there. I mean, granted, there's nights where after my son goes to bed, I have to go back to work, but I give him my full attention when I'm there. And doing what I do, I get to work kind of in blocks. So a convention is maybe 3 days long and I'm working, you know, 3 to 4 days, crazy. And then I'm home for a week or two and I have to edit and do some business side things. But I make sure I do that, you know, when he's asleep, or I have him in daycare 2 days a week, even though I can work from home, because I can concentrate and get those things done. And I plan ahead. I plan, okay, I'm going to do these things when he's at daycare so that when I go pick him up, that we are together, we go do fun things, or we do nothing. He just has my attention.
Yes. And I feel like this mom guilt kind of feeds the whole multitasking thing, because I noticed when I did not have dedicated time to work, I was constantly on my phone instead of with my kids.
Well, yeah, you're trying to work all the time and you're trying to pay attention to your kid all the time, kids, whichever it is, and not doing a very good job at either.
Yeah, you can't do it all the time. And yeah. I've found that blocking that out and really making dedicated time for both just makes life so much easier. I agree completely.
And also having support staff. So
yes,
whether there's two ways to go with that, whether it's someone to come clean your house because I can spend my time in a much better fashion there, or whether it's like my husband is amazing and is so supportive of like, hey, you go do what you need to do. I've got this for a little while so that I can, because he knows I'm going to go rock it and pay attention to what I'm doing so that I can come back and be present with them.
Yes. I feel like this discussion just leads into a whole thing about multitasking, which is a whole nother episode.
Yes. I mean, don't get me wrong. I slip up and still multitask because sometimes you have to.
Well, sure. But when you give yourself permission not to, it's so freeing.
For sure.
It's so freeing. Not just, and once you get in that habit too, like when you get in the habit of being fully present wherever you're at, it not only is better for parenting and for business, but it's better in everything. Like driving.
You're talking to the person who's had a little trouble with paying attention and driving lately. Oh, yeah. Yes. But if I'm present, then I enjoy my life better. I don't feel like I'm behind all the time. I don't feel like I should be doing this or should be doing this, i.e. mom guilt.
Yes.
Because I say, I had so much fun with Owen last night or whatnot that I can send him to daycare today. And at 1:00 we'll go hang out and do fun stuff. But I've gotten work done today.
Yes. I was just doing our daycare schedule for the rest of the year last night, and we have 2 big trips coming up. And I was like, oh, should I really have my kids gone the day after we get home from a trip? And I had to stop myself. And I'm like, you just spent a week and a half on an amazing trip with your kids. They can go somewhere else for a day.
Okay, I have a really funny story about this. So this last Friday, I don't think I'm remodeling a kitchen at the moment. Mm-hmm. So it's really hard to remodel a kitchen, especially when you're doing most of the work yourself. I like to be handy. And so this last Friday, I had Owen a daycare during the day because I had an event that I had to do. And I went to go pick him up. And she said to me, we have, date night tonight. If you want to bring him back, he can come back for date night. I was like, oh man, well, should I? He's been at daycare all day. And I was like, forget that. We've been working our butts off. We need a night off. So
yes.
He was in daycare probably most of Friday. And
that little voice sneaks in though, right?
Oh, it does, for sure. But then I just went, no, it's fine. He's fine. He is a people who loves him all the time.
Yes. Yes. And we also need to think about our kids too, and the value that comes from them being around the other kids and them being in another environment. That's huge.
It is. His social skills have gone through the roof. He's always been pretty happy and social, but he can communicate a little better. He is learning to be around other kids and take direction from other people and things that I can't teach him when I'm just here by myself alone.
Yes. Yep. And so we're kind of the mean parents on the block, but I really believe that my kids need to learn that the world does not revolve around them.
He always said that. He is on my schedule, and whoever comes after him, they are on my schedule. Yes. I will schedule their stuff into my schedule, but I'm not doing the whole everything is on their time and whatever. We all have lives to live and we all have things to do. And the sun doesn't shine out their butts. I love kids. I love my kids. But I mean, some of the parenting, and everyone can parent their child their own way. That's for sure.
Yes.
But my kid, he's got to learn that the world, when he grows up, is not going to revolve around him. So it's not going to now.
Exactly. Yes, absolutely. I actually just recently watched Oprah's Super Soul Sunday with Shonda Rhimes. And it was an old one. It was filmed after she wrote her book, A Year of Yes. And Shonda Rhimes asked the question, and I'm paraphrasing, but you'll get the idea. Why are all of the Mother's Day cards saying, thank you for sacrificing everything for me, instead of saying, thank you for teaching me to follow my dreams?
Yeah, for sure. My mom is a strong woman. She runs a part of a hospital, like the accounting part of a hospital. And she has always worked. Some of it she worked from home when we were younger, so that she would be here when we got home from school. Mm-hmm. But there was never I don't feel like she ever had any guilt. If she did, she didn't let us know. Mm-hmm. So she works hard.
Yes. Well, and part of setting up your own business and starting your own business, running your own business, is the goal is to have the freedom to live your life the way you want to live. If that means that you want to be a stay-at-home mom, awesome. Then work after your kids are in bed or at nap time and you do you. But if that means that you're part-time stay-at-home, part-time working, still running a successful business, then that is what having a business gives you the freedom to do.
Absolutely. There's times where we go do, pool days on Tuesday afternoon when no one's there.
Oh my gosh, yes. Absolutely. And I feel like, so one of my business coaches, mentors, I never know what to call people, but one of my business coaches, when I told him, I should be doing this, he goes, you're shoulding all over yourself.
Oh, I love that so much. It's so true. Yep.
Because it's so true with mom guilt. Like, who said we should?
Yeah.
why do we have these ideas? Why do we have these stories of the things that we should be doing? There is no should. This is your life. You get to choose. You get to live your life, love your kids fiercely, and do what you got to do.
And quit with the guilt on any of it. Really, It's the big thing. Do what you're going to do, and who cares what other people think? And who cares? As long as, if you really have the guilt, then you need to change what you're doing.
Yes.
Or stop with the guilt.
Yes. So I think that's an important question. Are you really doing something wrong that you should feel guilty for? Like if you haven't fed your kids in 4 days, maybe we should talk. Maybe there's some guilt there for a reason, but a lot of times they're just stories that we tell ourselves.
I agree. Absolutely.
So how does someone figure out the difference then?
I think it's something that everyone has to know on their own. I'm not sure, because it just, I love what I do. So I think that's my big thing, is I love what I do. So I don't feel guilty about that.
And why should you?
I don't. So
that's amazing. So in all of the events, sorry, kind of a sidetrack. I live on tangents.
Oh.
In all of the events that you've done, have you ever been asked how you balance it all? And how do you answer when people ask you about your work and travel and being a mom?
Usually the question I get is, who's watching Owen?
Oh, well, okay. I just need a moment because that really infuriates me. His father?
Yeah.
How do you answer that?
Well, his dad. Right. Well, I say he's taken care of. There's so many people who watch him. So we went to Europe for 2 weeks because I had a job there, and my parents watched him. We have daycare help. But most of the time, if we can swing it to where Chris's schedule can work, especially at nights and weekends and whatnot, Chris is watching him. My husband is awesome. And he honestly joked that if ever anyone was to be the stay-at-home parent, it would be him.
Yes.
So that's if I can retire him one day, then I will. But we're not there yet.
I'm curious, when you were in Europe, did Europeans ask you that question?
Not really. We were kind of on our own little space because we were at a conference.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And so they all know me, and I've known these people. I've worked for them for the last 8+ years. And they say it as, oh, who's watching Owen, as a, not as a guilt thing, more of they're just being curious. But other people, it was more when I was here and we were about to leave or coming back that they were like, well, who watched your son? I was like,
I just left him home in a cage.
Yeah. And I seriously believe that kids need grandparent time and time to learn other ways the world works than just in your own household.
Yes.
So.
Yes. And why do you think that only women are asked this question? Why is it assumed that women should be the ones balancing everything instead of leaning on their partners and using, taking full advantage of that partnership of husband and wife or maybe spouse and spouse or boyfriend and girl, whatever? Why are we the only ones asked this question?
I think it's because of roles of old, in the 50s. Before that, women didn't work very much. So it was really on them. I mean, and now with everything trying to be more equal, I think that's where it came from. But I don't know where it's going to go from here. Is it going to stay that way? Is it going to change? I don't know. But I think it's just where we came from. I think is a lot of what that was.
That's a good point. And I feel like we're trying to break away from it, but we're not there yet.
And you can't believe that men don't have dad guilt.
Well, so that was actually something I wanted to ask you. Do you think that the guys feel this too?
I think men can absolutely have guilt. If my husband works too much, I don't know if it's specifically guilt, but he wants to be home with us. He wants to spend time with us. So, and I know another photographer friend who travels a ton and is doing super huge jobs. So he told me that he makes sure that he does as much work while he's away so that when he does come home, he is there and present, and the phone's away and the computer's away, and he's taking his kids to school and all that kind of stuff. So I don't specifically have the guilt, but he's managing his life to make sure that it's not a problem.
Yes. I wonder if when he is traveling, if someone asks him who's watching his kids.
I didn't ask that. That's a funny question. But his wife works too.
Yeah.
So
interesting.
I know.
I feel there's so many questions going through my brain right now. It just kind of cracks me up. Okay, so kind of to pivot a little bit, I asked you the question when we were preparing for the episode, what experiences have you had that helped build your confidence as a female entrepreneur? And I loved your answer, so I want to share it. Your answer was, I don't worry about female or not. I'm just a person making my own path. And I really, 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 really love this. I want so much to reach women. And so I find myself feeding into the female stuff constantly because that's really who I work with. But ultimately, we're all just humans trying to impact other humans in a positive way. How did you learn to move away from the stereotypes or the expectations as a woman and as a mom? Where did that come from?
Well, I think it's the way I grew up. I only have brothers. I don't have sisters.
Oh, really?
Yep. I played hockey on an all-guys team growing up through high school. I was a tomboy, kind of. I was still pretty girly, but it just was never a thing. I'd never felt like, oh, I'm the girl in my family. It was just like, I'm one of the kids. I never was made to feel less than or different or have to go a different route because I was a girl.
Do you think that your parents did that consciously, or was it kind of just the kids are all boys and Laura's in there too?
I think it was. I don't think it was intentional.
Yeah.
I don't.
Which I think is crazy beneficial now.
Yeah. It was never awesome. It was like, do what you want to do. And, I did ballet and stuff when I was younger too, but it was always you can do what you want to do.
Yes.
You just have to work hard and follow through.
Yes. Yes. Which takes commitment regardless of male, female, other. Having the commitment to follow through with what you say you're going to do and your goals is a challenge for all of us, whether it comes to parenting or business or anything in between.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And that's a really important lesson. One thing that I really admire about you is that you don't let yourself get pulled into other people's work or comparison or drama. And maybe that's just my perspective. But what are some tips that you can give to other creatives that tend to feel bogged down by the things they see happening in their industry?
So kind of back to my family. This is kind of a funny one. When we moved to Salt Lake, someone asked my mom, is it going to be a problem that when she moves here that there's a bunch of photographers here? There's a ton. And my mom looked at her and goes, oh, no, she'll be fine.
Confidence.
But it's more just that I don't care what other people are doing. And I don't, I check out other people's work and I just do my own thing. And I don't worry so much about everybody else. I only have time to worry about me. And so if you're worried too much about what else everyone's doing, you kind of maybe need to pay attention to what you're doing because you could go a lot further if you had that time back.
Oh my gosh, it's wasted brain energy for sure.
Yeah. So.
Oh my gosh, that confidence is huge. I know that it's something that I have struggled with in the past. How do you find that? How do you embrace it? I mean, I know what I have had to do, but what have you done that works for you?
I mean, I love what I do. So I think that's a big part of it. I love what I do. And I've worked hard to get where I'm going and, learning, taking classes at schools and just all those things and reaching out to other photographers and not being scared to say, hey, you're doing something I really like. Can I come shadow you and see, or even if you're just on a job with someone, oh, how did you do that? Or I'm not afraid to ask people questions and figure out the why of what they're doing. And it's not to copy,
Yes.
for sure. It's not like I am my own person.
No.
I'm going to do it my own way. But
It's a skill, though.
But it's a skill. And maybe maybe I'm making a lot harder work out of something that someone has figured out a lot easier. So, just learning, I guess, is a big part of that.
Yes. And part of that, like you had mentioned, is that you're not afraid to ask those questions. I think fear tends to take over a lot.
Well,
Do you think that's
being
Sorry,
humble.
go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, being humble is part of that too. Like when you are going to ask those questions, there's kind of two ways of it. Be humble, don't be cocky, and just ask for, I don't know, being humble and
just to approach someone with the
humility
willingness to learn. Yeah. Humility, for sure. One thing that I have seen over and over again recently is that people are not necessarily teachable. And this is something that I actually have an episode planned coming up because they'll ask a question, but when they're presented with a different way of doing things, they refuse.
Yeah. That's so true. And people are just like, I know everyone says millennials, and I guess I'm technically a millennial, and I don't think it's that. But there is a culture of people right now that are so into what they're doing and they know better than the generations of people that have come before them, and they don't. Like, you can get from other people nicely and put that into use in your own business. They've been there. They've gone through the trenches and done dumb stuff that you can learn from.
Right.
Myself included. I've done those dumb things.
Oh, yeah, me too. Someone told me once, it is smart to learn from your mistakes. It is wise to learn from someone else's mistakes.
Oh my gosh, I need that quote on my wall.
I know. I always tell my son that. He doesn't like to hear that, but
Oh, what teenager does?
When he's about 25, I'm sure he'll change his mind.
Yes. Yes.
So if you could give business owners who are parents or even who aren't parents one tip to make their lives easier, to move their businesses forward, what would that be?
I kind of go back to the compartmentalized stuff. Plan to do things all at once. So all the business stuff all at once. And then stop the business stuff to do family stuff. And make sure that your family stuff is a priority. If I didn't
Yes.
the family stuff a priority, then I would have mom guilt.
Yes. Well, and I've heard several photographers recently say, well, I'm single, so I don't have to worry about that. I'm like, well, you still have a life. Like, you're still important. It's still you or your friends or maybe your parents or sisters, brothers, whatever. It's not that because you don't have kids, you don't need to still have time off.
Oh my goodness. So true. So this is kind of a big one for me. One of my very good friends, her job said to her once, well, you don't have kids or a husband, so you can work that day, right? And
No.
she's like, excuse me, what? My time off is not as important as someone with kids? Like, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Yes.
My time is not more important because I have a 2.5-year-old. It's not.
No. No. It just means that you have to batch it better and to manage it better.
Yeah, but that's
human.
But that's not someone else's responsibility or
exactly.
Or yeah.
Exactly. That's very, very true. And ultimately, it just kind of boils down to taking care of ourselves and knowing your own boundaries and knowing what you are and are not okay with.
Yeah. And so here's on this kind of mom guilt balance kind of thing. I feel like there really isn't such thing as a quote unquote work-life balance. Sometimes work is crazy and you have to do that, and it's 75% and family is 25%. And then there's other times where it's opposite and there's a ton of family stuff going on, or there's not much going on at work, so you can spend extra time with family, and you have to take that when you can get it.
Yes. And I find that, like, for me lately, my son's birthday was recently. We went on a trip recently. And so family definitely took up more of the time. And then I find myself feeling guilty because I wasn't working during that time.
Yeah.
You can't win, right?
You can't win. And you just can do the best you can do and feel proud of that.
Feel proud of it and let it go.
Yep.
Like, you just have to let go of the guilt, let go of the crap that other people are putting on you, and let go of the shoulds.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what is the guilt doing for you? That's
a very good question.
How is the guilt helping you? Unless you see a problem and you need to change it, what is the guilt going to do for you? So leave it behind, because it's just a thought. And the thoughts create your feelings. And then you have feelings about your guilt, and then there's nothing you can do about it.
It's not productive at all.
It's not productive. So just do what you're going to do and be proud of it.
I feel like I need that tattooed on my forehead.
There's days. There's days I need to remember this as well.
And it's, I think, also important to note that while most of the time I'm okay with that, I didn't get there overnight.
Oh, right. For sure.
Because I have a 14-year-old and a 3-year-old, and it's taken me a long time to learn these lessons. So it's not something that you pick up and you're like, okay, well, today I'm just not going to feel guilty anymore.
Right? There's days where it's harder to push that away.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Oh my gosh, how funny. Well, what is the best piece of advice that you've ever received, and who was it from?
Oh, I can't really think of just one, because I don't know.
What are some favorites?
Okay,
I want
favorites,
to hear them all
I don't know who, I don't know really if they're from anyone specific, but the lessons I've learned that really have fueled my business are to work hard, to take care of the people, and do a good job. So I think in that order, maybe the taking care of people first, but I think the relationships are more important than the actual job itself, which sounds strange, but I get hired and rehired for a lot of jobs because they can trust me. I'm going to work hard. I'm going to be there, and they don't have to worry about me. And most of them end up being friends as opposed to the technical aspects of my job.
Yes. Well, and that kind of goes into the marketing speak now that people hire people, not brands.
True.
If you are presented with two options that have equal skill, and one of them is more personable than the other, who are you going to hire?
Yeah. It's always going to be the person that you know, like, and trust.
Yes. And a lot of that comes into being authentic in your client interactions. Like, it kind of blows me away when people ask these questions of, I saw one where a photographer had miscarried and my heart just went out to her, but she said, what do I tell people? I said, well, it kind of depends on your level of comfort with sharing, but I would tell my clients, I need some time.
Yeah.
And most of the time, my clients would connect with me and say, what can we do for you?
Oh, for
sure. And
they're
my clients. They're paying me. But when you're authentic with people and you care and you take care of them, then when you need that help or when you need a little bit of extra time, a little bit of extra grace, they're all over it.
One, and they know that you're going to go the extra mile when you can take care of them because you've been open and honest, and they don't feel like you're just, giving them the overview, and then they don't know what's really going on. They just think you're skating on them.
Yes. Yes. And I recently had a talk too with another photographer that said, well, I respond to inquiries on Sunday nights, like right away within an hour. And I said, I don't respond to email on the weekends. She said, well, do your clients get upset by that? I said, no, they know that. It's a policy. Yeah. I make it very clear. I don't respond to email on Sunday nights. And they're okay with that. And if they're not, they're probably not clients that I want to work with.
Yeah. And think about this. especially in an artistic photography standpoint, in almost no circumstances is it emergent. It's just not there. I mean, it maybe if you're a birth photographer, there's a little bit more urgency to it. But in my line of work, there really aren't that many things that where someone needs to contact me on a Sunday night.
Right.
You know,
and there are times that maybe I'll have time to do work on a Sunday night, but I always schedule those emails for Monday morning.
Oh, every Sunday night. Sunday night is one of my favorite nights to work. And I literally will have like a whole list of emails in my outbox. And Monday morning, I just go send.
Right. And then you just look like you're getting up early and taking care of everything, and it's good.
Right. And I can do it on my time when Owen's asleep.
Yes. But you're still training your clients that you're not available at that time.
Absolutely. And almost all of my clients are business people too. And some of them do the same thing I do, where they'll work on the weekend and they're trying to take care of stuff then too. But I don't know that I've ever had anyone uptight that I haven't gotten back to them that night or within hours.
Yes. Yep. Absolutely. I usually tell people within 24 hours, and I had one woman just yell at me once because it took me 6 hours to get back to her.
Oh my gosh, she's not your client then.
No, not at all. I was like, well, my family comes first, and I was out to dinner for a birthday, so I'm not going to respond to emails at that time. And there will be unrealistic expectations, I think, in every genre, but setting those boundaries.
And I try
boundaries not only with your clients, but with yourself and what you're okay with too.
Oh yeah. Because then otherwise you just end up on your cell phone when you're at a birthday party and and then you're not present, which goes back to then you feel guilty because you're doing neither of them well.
That's a really crappy circle of events, huh?
Yeah.
We got to cut the circle.
I'd rather be present and stay up a little later or get up early or, whatever your timetable is to have some dedicated time to do what you got to do.
Yes, absolutely. And that's, again, kind of the beauty of having your own business is you get to choose that.
Especially with modern technology.
Yeah.
You can schedule emails. You can work late and have your computer and all the kinds of things that you couldn't really do before.
Yes. Yeah. And my husband doesn't have that luxury. People who work for corporate companies, they can't just say, well, it's Tuesday afternoon. I'm not going to work right now. I'll work later tonight. It doesn't work that way.
Oh, yeah. My husband is pretty much these days, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. He's got some on-call things and stuff too. And then he'll take off a little early if he has a lot of on-call stuff. But I mean, he has to be out going to businesses when they're open.
Yes. And even if when I started my business, I was a single mother. And so every time I heard people talk about their husbands, I was like, yeah, don't have one of those. But even if you don't have a husband, your support system.
Oh, for sure.
So whether it's parents or friends or whoever.
I ran a business long before I met Chris. So I've been on both sides, and you still have to have your boundaries. You still have to do your stuff. It's having a husband is, helpful, but but certainly not necessary.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like, and this might be a controversial statement, but having those boundaries is even more important when you don't have a partner.
I think you're right.
To take care of things for you.
For sure.
Because you don't have the backup in place all the time that some of us have in spouses. And I say that hesitantly because not everyone has a spouse that's super supportive of their business. And I understand that
there's a lot of people who don't.
Yeah, that's probably a whole nother episode.
And I wonder if that's where some of the mom guilt comes from.
Ooh, that's a good question.
Not having good support.
Yeah. Well, and so many spouses are not necessarily even supportive of taking care of the kids, much less having a business.
For sure.
So I wonder if that's where some of that does come from. That's an interesting thought. I hadn't thought about that. I love that. This is something that has been just weighing on my heart for a while, especially having my daughter now. And that's kind of something that I've noticed as well, is my son was an only child for 10 years. And I know you are a mom to a boy.
Mm-hmm.
And when I had my daughter, I feel like I've learned so many of the things that you have talked about. And maybe you learned that from your mom early, but I want her to know that she doesn't necessarily have to fit into someone else's category of what she's supposed to be.
Well, and she could grow up and want to be a full-time stay-at-home mom, and that's okay too.
Yes. Yes.
But she'll know she has options because of you.
And that's what I want to show her. But isn't that kind of the point of the whole feminist movement to begin with, is that you have options that you can choose for yourself?
Yeah, I think it is.
Even if you choose to stay at home.
Oh, yeah.
And that's cool. That's your choice.
Absolutely.
Again, I feel like the whole feminist thing is a whole other snowball.
Oh, yeah.
But it is important to me that she has the choice, that she can choose to do whatever she wants, as can her brother.
Absolutely. That's so awesome.
So I want to know, what is the best decision you've ever made?
Oh, in my whole life?
In your whole life?
My husband.
Yeah.
Chris is, I'm a very strong personality, to say the least.
No.
No.
Not at all.
Yeah. And he is for sure my better half, but he gets me because he lets me do my thing. He understands my business enough that he supports me, and if I go too far or if I don't spend enough time with the family, he is the voice of reason that says, hey, you need to pay attention to this, or, you're doing this too much, and when he speaks up, I listen, because he doesn't say it often. So when he does, I go, oh, you are right. And that trickles down to our kiddo, which is the second best decision. But we wouldn't have the family that we have, and I wouldn't have the life that we have without him.
Yes. I love that. Having those people in your life that can speak truth lovingly is so important.
Yeah.
Because we kind of live in this culture of just tearing people down.
Oh, yeah.
And there's something to be said for constructive criticism said with love.
I think so. In a world where, anything you do can be wrong.
Oh my gosh.
And, having someone that supports you and you're doing right, but still can tell you, hey, that's not the right path, or you really need to not do that. You go, oh, okay. I trust you, and I know that you have my best interests at heart.
But it also takes some, dare I say, lady balls to listen.
Yeah. And sometimes I forget to.
That's hard.
But
if someone comes to you and says, look, you're really causing, this is a problem, to actually listen is hard to do.
It is.
And to take action too.
Yes. But.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Well.
What is the lesson that took you the longest to learn when it comes to your business?
I think most people will say this, but outsourcing really is kind of the biggest one.
Are you a control freak?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yes. Okay. Yeah. More is.
I love that it takes a little bit to answer that.
Yeah, it's kind of more that on some stuff that it would take me longer to teach someone to do it, at least, the time, than it would for me to just do it. And so that's been kind of hard for me. But I let go of the reins of my website, which is being redone right now. And just
That's
some things,
awesome.
yeah, just some things I'm really starting to get into. Let people do what they are good at, because
Yes.
I just want to do what I'm good at. And that's taking pictures of business people. That's all I want to do.
Well, and having that team in place, like, it is very scary.
Yeah.
At first to let someone else handle it. But once they have it down and they're just moving and shaking and going for it, it's so nice.
Yes. And I don't think you need to outsource everything, but just the few things that are those thorns in your side that are on your to-do list forever that you never get done, those are the things that you should just hand off to someone else. Because if you're not going to do them, but they need to get done, send those away.
Absolutely. Get rid of them.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, that's so true. And especially for any of the moms listening to this, house cleaning, get rid of that.
Yep.
Just get rid of it.
And we only,
there are people. What?
We only have someone come once a month. And
we have every 3 weeks.
Yeah, once a month, and it's to clean toilets and the things that we keep up in between. But it's, I don't have time to be on my hands and knees cleaning baseboards. Ironically, I have been doing that at our new house this week, but that's
because you have a lot of dust.
Yeah. So that's, I mean, how much time? Well, and how much is your time worth? Say you pay, I don't know, $80 to have your house cleaned, and it takes a few hours, or it would take you more than a few hours. That's time I could be spending with my kiddo, and instead of always feeling like, oh, I need to clean this and oh, I need to clean that, and never getting around to it. And we're pretty clean. So.
Yep. And there are so many things that we spend money on mindlessly that could add up easily to a house cleaning.
Yeah.
Every time people tell me they can't afford it, like, how much do you spend at Starbucks every month?
Yeah, absolutely. For sure.
It's amazing how much we just kind of do mindlessly as a habit that could be put towards other things.
Yeah. And how much are you spending on loans and interest? And so crack down and pay some of those off, and then you can use that to roll that into other stuff. And
ouch.
That's a whole other thing too. But
it is.
But we're really big about, trying to pay cash for stuff. So if it takes me to pay cash for the house cleaner, then I'll give up something else.
Yep. Absolutely. And it just makes your life so much easier and if you have kids, oh my gosh, if you clean one room and you move to the next, the first room is now completely destroyed.
Yeah.
Your house is never completely clean.
Right.
And when you have the house cleaners, they just come in. I swear I want to rub my body all over my cleaners when they're here.
No. And here's what, okay.
Because they're never clean.
So when we were kids, my mom had someone come once a month. And it was always so funny. She'd be like, okay, the house cleaner's coming tomorrow. You need to go clean up. We're like.
And you felt like that was ridiculous, right?
This is so ridiculous. But you have to she really meant pick up,
Yes.
Because if we picked up, she would vacuum our room or that kind of thing. As opposed, and now I'm like, oh yeah, okay, it's time to clean up before the cleaner comes.
Circles, it all comes back.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, how funny. Well, thank you so much for being here, darling.
It was my pleasure.
I'm so happy to have you. I feel like we just opened up 20 cans of worms that we have to talk about at a later date.
As we usually do.
We do. It's so funny. Yeah, that's how that works. But that's okay. We'll just come back to them later. Thank you so much for being here. Where can people find out more about you, what you do, if they need headshots? She comes to Denver and travels. I'm just saying.
Yeah. So it's all pretty easy. The website is kinserstudios.com. Pretty much all of my social stuff is just at Kinser Studios with an S. Mm-hmm. And that's me. My email is just Laura@Kinser Studios.
Fantastic. And we will put all of that information in the show notes as well. So if you'd like to get in touch with Laura, please reach out. She does amazing headshots. You can see all of her work. It is awesome. I actually need new headshots. I just haven't had time.
No, let's get it scheduled.
We do need to get that scheduled. It just needs to be a priority, man.
Yeah.
So we will definitely get that scheduled, but feel free to reach out to Laura, get some headshots done, because if you still have a selfie on your Facebook, it's time to make a change.
Agreed.
And thank you so much for being here, Laura. And to all of the listeners, thank you so much. I know that this conversation might upset some people, and please know that all of these words are said in love, because Laura and I have both been there. We have ridden the guilt train and we are off, and we are telling you it's much more beautiful here. Join us. So for all of the listeners, jump off the guilt train, get some work done, and make your life the way that you want it to be, because you have that power. So in the meantime, while you're working on that, head on over to iTunes, leave a review. And if you have any questions or want to revisit some of the points from this episode, show notes are at www.businessstraightedup.com/podcast. And as always, if you have any questions, want to reach out to me, the Facebook group is at www.businessstraightedup.com/community, or you can find us on Facebook. I can't wait to work with you. Have an amazing day. Thank you so much for listening to Business Straight Up. I'm so glad that you could join us today. Check out the show notes for this and all of the episodes at businessstraightuppodcast.com. And I can't wait to talk with you again. Have a great day.